My name is Elke Miedema. I'm a researcher, lecturer in Holland University of Applied Sciences. I'm a co-founder of Healthscapes, and I'm the co-founder of the task force of the Health Promoting Built Environment. Or I am the founder, but I'm the co-leader. And I want to talk to you about the arguments to incorporate the built environment in health promotive healthcare. Some of the key concepts that are both for healthcare and for built environment important, as this is a multidisciplinary context. A little bit, and I'm really touching on the little surface of healthcare building design in general. What do we already know? And then very shortly on healthcare building design for health promotive healthcare, mainly to give an introduction for the upcoming webinars for what you can expect. So I think what research has already shown is that healthcare buildings can be considered society's reflection on health care and the relation between patients and healthcare professionals. It's also been clear that political, societal, technological, medical developments constantly influence healthcare buildings. You can imagine the introduction of e-health, how that is changing, but also other components of how we're looking at healthcare. We also know, as Fatima was also mentioning, that we need to reorient towards a health promotive healthcare beyond curative or healthy principles. And we also know that new healthcare approaches result in new demands for healthcare building construction. And as one of the participants in my PhD research also mentioned, like there is constantly new research on health promotive healthcare, and we really need to be looking into that when we're designing new healthcare buildings. And this is also the backbone of where we're heading with this task force. And then at the same time, we also know that many health buildings are outdated or need major renovation. We know that the design of healthcare buildings influences human health and organizational outcomes. We know that the quality of healthcare building design has been related to healthcare quality. And we also know, or it's been argued, that the built environment should not be disconnected from developments in healthcare. So if you know all of this, it's very obvious that we should bring the built environment and healthcare building design into the developments of health promotion in hospitals and healthcare. So some of these key concepts and theories, I think Fatima already identified the definition of health promotion, and I also rely, or we as a task force, on some of these criteria. So first of all, we see health as something as holistic. It's not just your body or being physically ill, but it's more your emotional well-being. It's your environment. So it's a holistic view. It's always social cultural, so it's hard to change anything if your social cultural environment, your friends, your family have a certain lifestyle to do differently. But health promotion, for me, it became very important because it focuses on resources of health, salutogenic, and it doesn't focus on avoiding negative or disease, causes of disease, which is often also mentioned as pathogenic approach. So here you see, for instance, an example of Matisse, who is an artist. You see that his whole environment is focused on what he can still do and keeping the identity of the person alive. Health promotion also focuses on equity and justice, so focusing on marginalized group people that for no particular reason because of their genetics, but more because of their environment or how they've been treated, have been overlooked or have poorer health. And to accomplish that, of course, we need collaboration between disciplines beyond the healthcare sector. That's why I'm, as an architect, involved in these principles. And we need participation from the people at stake, right? We cannot do this top down, sort of just assume that we as experts can decide what would be best. Here's an example of how participation also can happen in design processes. So I think it's important to note that the World Health Organization has identified multiple places for health promotion where the hospital and the healthcare environment is one of those 5 main settings, where the hospital is, of course, a setting on its own, but it's also a workplace and it's also often part of a community. As Fatima already mentioned, this handbook of settings-based health promotion, it's open, or it's accessible for many of you that work at universities, but it has also one chapter that explains very clearly on the historic development of this health promotive healthcare network and what the goals have been and how they've been working with task forces as well. So I highly recommend this for people who are interested in this. Since we're talking multidisciplinary or transdisciplinary, I think it's good to make a clear distinction when we're doing these webinars between what we mean with the setting, what we mean with physical environment, built environment, and building design. And you may notice, or at least in my research, it became very clear that these words are often used interchangeably. So it's not a matter of me saying this is how everyone should use a definition. That's not my point. But the point is, like, when you're reading about this, when you're listening, when you're writing about this, be clear on what you mean. So for me, for instance, a setting or the place is about this interaction between social, natural, and built environments where this all comes together. The physical environment is this combination of the natural environment, so ecosystems, as well as the built environment, so often called human-made or traditionally called man-made. And then the built environment it's more what I'm talking about, right? This human-made environment, and building design is an aspect of the built environment where we're not talking about the streets or the infrastructure, but we're talking about the building as one point. Of course, building design can also refer to the design process, building designing, but we will specify it if we're talking about the process. Enough concepts. Now more about Ahmed. Thank you for your question. I will take it up when my part is done. So one important study I think to consider is the study by Roger Ulrich, published in 1984. A study that compared different types of patients that either had a view on nature from their room, so you can see the green rooms, or a view on a brick wall. And it became very clear that the patients who were assigned to rooms with windows looking out on a natural scene had shorter post-operative hospital stay. They had fewer negative evaluations, and they took less pain medication. So this sort of indicated all of a sudden how important this view on nature was and how the design of the hospital could influence health-related outcomes. And so this sort of marked the start of this whole development of healthcare building design. And I think it's one of the most cited papers in this field. Well, since then, much has happened. I mean, in the meantime, I started only looking at this 15 years ago, but much has happened. We know, for instance, that there's quite enough research to also develop a new building certificate, such as the WELL certification. We will go into this in a bit more in depth in a future webinar as well. But you can see that there's a few indicators such as air quality, daylight, acoustics, but as well as movement, mind, and community. So both like this more technical, but as well as this more holistic approaches. And this has already led to changes in how we design healthcare facilities. For instance, this award-winning project by AGM Architects in the Netherlands, where you can see green, where you have a light entrance hall with self-service desk, but also a patient room focused on keeping medical aspects out of sight in the back wall and allowing a ceiling lift for safety, and in the background, views on nature and a seating area for visitors that can turn into a sleeping bench. And a recent study on inpatient healthcare environments that I was also a co-author to, have showed this relation between different healthcare settings, different healthcare outcomes, populations, and design features. If you're interested in that, you can, of course, check out the QR code, but we will also add this to the notes. So for my PhD, I looked into the meaning of health promotion in healthcare as addressed in relation to healthcare architecture. And I think that these are terms that are very often being used without clear definitions or referrals to existing frameworks, which is understandable because there weren't much there. But what I see is that architects increasingly use the term healing environment, health promotive environment, supportive environment, without really defining what they mean with it, which also makes it a bit difficult to pinpoint if what they're doing is indeed health promoting, as the word means in the healthcare sector or in public health. So for me, health promotion includes stimulating healthy behaviors and equity. And often these things are not even combined. So in hospitals, you may focus on equity or accessibility, but not healthy behavior, or healthy behavior, but maybe then not age friendliness. So it becomes clear that there is a need for a sort of an overview to what people pay attention to. And in my PhD, which, it's been a few years back, 5 years already, almost. I developed this model to sort of understand myself to what kind of outcomes are we talking about? And are we talking about the patient, the inner circle? Are we talking about all building users? Are we talking about the local community or the environment? Or are we talking more pathogenic aspects like cure, rehabilitation, disease prevention, health protection, or more salutogenic components like well-being, quality of life, healthy behavior, equity, and empowerment? And we will go more into examples of what this means in relation to different design perspectives or design approaches in the upcoming seminars. But this is just to set the stage. But what it in general showed in the studies I did in my PhD is that there is a lack of overarching research that combines these multiple dimensions. There is a lack of clear definitions and implications of what it actually means for design. And what we see is that the design for health promotion, it's still much more related to reactive healthcare when people are already sick. So if you are interested in this, of course, watch more seminars. But if you can't wait for the next one, I already have a few links of very short videos talking about health promotion and design of healthcare facilities on Vimeo and YouTube, and some of the papers or things that you can read.